This is what Zulu people look like, apparently,
Africa is not
according
coming
to
for our Zulu.
African
I
Americans,
know you're not.
or at least some
I'm
African
from
Americans.
Twitter.
That's why there's this big
I
row
know
going
one
on.
thing South Africa. Now South Africa. I know South Africa is not coming for our Zulu. I know you're not. I'm from Thibodeau, Louisiana. I know one thing South Africa better do is mind they mother ding dong business.
Hi love. So the internet once again is at an uproar. Let's not say the internet. The black diaspora is once again crackling and crackling, and this time it is because of New Orleans Zulu Parade. When I first heard the term Zulu Parade, as someone that grew up in South Africa, even though I'm from Zimbabwe, I just imagined Zulu people that migrated to America having a Zulu parade. Like that's what I had in mind. But when I looked over and saw it, I was shooketh to the shook. Because what is that? So I had to go on Google and be like, okay, what is the Zulu Parade? And why is everyone in such an uproar about it? Like, let's go back in history. So the Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club is one of the oldest black Mardi Gras krewes, I hope I'm saying that correctly, in New Orleans, founded in 1909. It was formed in response to black exclusion from the traditional white-dominated Mardi Gras festivities. Their costumes often featured face paint, historically blackface, based leather headdresses, spears, and grass skirts intended as a parody of white stereotypes of Africans. The Zulu Parade became a symbol of black resilience, joy, and community pride in a deep segregated Jim Crow era the South.
The parade has been happening since 1909, when a group of men created a benevolent organization, and they saw a play that depicted the Zulu tribe in Africa, and at that time hyper-segregation was going on, and the white people in Louisiana said that black people could no longer participate in Mardi Gras. And so what they did was they created a section or a parade in that Mardi Gras, and they dressed up in that Zulu costume, and they also did blackface, which at the time was like a minstrel show which depicted black people as super villainous and super dark and super African. And so what they did was they said they took reclamation in both of those depictions of themselves and said, you know what, we're going to defy what you are telling us as a race we can or cannot participate in and we can't do. So we're going to show up in blackface, and we're going to show up as this tribe we learned about, and we're going to throw it in your face. And that is the start of that conversation, and the start of that Zulu Parade is black people in Louisiana taking reclamation of something, putting power into it, and saying, you know what, you no longer can hold this over my head because I'm proud to be this thing that you think is so dark, so dirty, and so villainous.
So now that we've gotten that part on what it actually is, because that's the one thing that I'm not seeing in the discourse. Like, no one's actually explaining what it actually is and how it started. I just wanted to get that off the bat. And then obviously the Zulu people, the Zulu nation. So for those who don't know, let me do a little quick recap on who the Zulu people are. The Zulu are one of the largest, most influential groups within South Africa. They are a part of the Nguni people, and they speak the language called isiZulu. Zulu people are known for their strong warrior history and cultural pride, and basically leadership skills. My neighbor was a Zulu man. In fact, one of my best friends was actually Zulu, and they're very like, you know it's a Zulu person, it's a Zulu man, because they really embody that leadership and just pride within their culture. You don't have to question it. It's there. You can see it. So the Zulu nation was officially established in 1816 under Shaka Zulu, and Shaka united smaller clans into a powerful kingdom through military innovation and diplomacy. Under his rule, the Zulu nation became a dominant force in southern Africa, resisting colonial forces and expanding territory. And they're also known for the Anglo-Zulu War in 1879, I think. See, I'm forgetting my history over here. Like, yeah, I think we get the point of who the Zulu people are. Fast forward today, the Zulu tribe is one of those tribes that really stick to their roots, stick to their culture, and are not whitewashed. Even today, their culture has been so significant that it's been featured in, blockbuster movies, is that what it's called, such as Black Panther. Some of the American movies that are made depicting African culture, it's most of the time has been Zulu culture, but presented as African culture. But that's how influential Zulu is within the world in general. So going back to America, so now that we've seen a bit of context to that, let's discuss why Zulu South African people are mad. South Africans see this as disrespectful and see what New Orleans is doing as a caricature, like making fun, like disrespecting their culture. Valid, absolutely valid point. Like the outfits, the whole thing, it just does not represent who Zulu people are, the actual Zulu people are. So their concerns are not just like out of the blue, like them being uneducated, because that's always like the thing, like the argument. I hate that so much when Africans especially are complaining about something within the diaspora, or in general, people always coming to their whole educated thing, like you guys need to educate yourself, like kind of going on that stereotype that Africans aren't educated and don't know what they're talking about and they need to Google things. You guys have computers, blah, 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 stuff like that, but these are actual Zulu people, so that's all you need. So the name Zulu isn't just like some random like name, like yeah, we can just use that, plaster over there, have our own history, and that's that. Zulu has so much more significance to the Zulu people, so using it and not putting the right context or making the history accurate, it's almost like an erasure of the Zulu nation, or exploitation, or again, cultural appropriation. And even though the Zulu parade has a long history on why they do the blackface and how that is mockery, or in mockery of what they were made fun of, now in the Lord year of 2025, that is not okay. Like, regardless of what the history is, and the fact that, and it's and by Zulu people and me, I guess, it's seen as perpetuating the idea of blackface, and it really does come across very, very offensive. I think one of the reasons that also just makes it kind of damning, the whole thing, is that the lack of collaboration, you know, within this whole thing. I just watched this video, I'm gonna link it down below, but let me play a clip from it.
On the other side, also then educating those that are participating in this festival that as times change, the way they do things perhaps also needs to change to be in line with the definitions of what it is that they're trying to bestow, so that cultures are not misconstrued. Because, of course, very many people, including, of course, as yourself, Zulus, are indeed very territorial about their culture.
Well, you're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, just coincidentally, last year I made a call to this office in New Orleans because I wanted to reach out to them. I had gone to a festival, a jazz festival in Washington, D.C., and there was a lady who kept standing up and dancing. She had a yellow umbrella written Zulu on it. And I went to talk to her after the show, and she told me that she's a member of the Zulu Social Aid in New Orleans. And I said, we need to talk, because I think there could be some collaboration and also some awareness about what you are doing and also what we are also doing in South Africa. And unfortunately, the call went unanswered for the whole week. So getting back to the point that we are raising, yes, I honestly do think that there has to be that. Because if we were to ask a fundamental question, so what? So what do we want them to do?
Do you see how he said that he, that's just like one example, obviously, how he tried to communicate with that lady that had the Zulu name, to collaborate with an actual Zulu person, but there was no, sense of collaboration and just like understanding and, dialogue. I think that's what's happening right now, where people that are defending the Zulu parade are not really open to like hearing what actual Zulu people are saying. And in that way, if there's a conversation, the Zulu parade can be turned and can evolve into something where everyone is happy. But like, there's that just disconnect where it's like, no, you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about, we're not going to listen to you, even though you are the original person that started this. We don't care what you have to say, because this is our history. We take, you understand what I'm saying? Like, just the lack of acknowledgement part, that's just like kind of triggering. And that's also going towards the whole cultural appropriation thing that we always fight about, where whenever Black Americans are talking about things and cultural appropriation, they want, the diaspora to back them up in those things. And like 50% of the time, the Africans don't really get it. And they're just like, I don't care if white people wear braids, you know, where it's like, oh, y'all understand that, but like when we are complaining, you don't get it. It's like, it's a bit weird. So there's definitely like a complicated truth to this. It's definitely just like two different histories that are just clashing together. The South African Zulus ethnic group with roots going back centuries, and then you have a Black American Krewe created in resistance. Then you have the deep royal traditions, Shaka Zulu, for example, and then you have the youth's Zulu name as a symbol of strength, and then you have the South African Zulus seeing the parade as a mockery, and then you have the New Orleans people seeing the parade as a celebration of resilience. Yeah, it's possible for two sides to be valid, you know. South Africans or Zulu people are valid for finding this offensive, and at the same time, Black Americans or African Americans feel they created this tradition as a way to uplift themselves, and it wasn't meant to offend but to uplift, and that has been going on for them for like 100 years, right, as they say. Actually, before we conclude, I also want to talk about why Black Americans are feeling very defensive about the Zulu parade. We also have to understand historically, like, Black Americans have been stripped of their identities. They really try to grasp whatever they can from Africa to identify themselves or to align themselves with. So when Black South Africans or Zulu people were like, you're doing that wrong, what they hear is kind of like, you're doing blackness wrong, you know, you're not black enough, or like, you know, we taking out this. That's another thing we're taking away. A lot of things have been taken away from Black Americans. Their music, their style, their culture, all that kind of stuff. Every time taken away, especially in America, right? By the world, actually. So it's kind of like, you know what? We don't even want to hear what you have to say about the Zulu parade. All we hear is that you just want to take another thing away from us. And I think that's also something to think about. Just like the historical context within their culture and how, you know, things have been really hard. I think we don't really think about that as Africans, like, because we just know who we are. We know our culture, we know our food, we know we are set, we are so comfortable. We forget that there are other brothers and sisters out there in the Caribbean, all that kind of stuff, who don't know where their ancestors are from, who don't know, who are stripped away from Africa. And, you know, do you get what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of unresolved trauma that's happening there. And I think sometimes we kind of are insensitive to that, especially when it comes to like cultural appropriation. Whenever there is discussion about cultural appropriation, you always see Africans in the comments like, I don't care, because we so settled and we are the majority where we're from. We don't see a white person, you know, wearing our culture things as them taken away, and because they can never take it away because it's us. We are the majority. We have the power. You know what I'm saying? But when you are a minority, it hits different, you know? And I think one thing the people in New Orleans can also kind of open up about is just the conversation that they have every time with cultural appropriation, especially against white people. Like, whenever they are out there telling white people like, hey, this is cultural appropriation, you know, this and this and that. Every time the white person always has that defense. But it's just that thing though. But it's just braids. That's the only example that I can think of right now. But like, it's just nails. I don't know what it is. But like, they always like make it light and don't even want to hear what the argument is about. They just block it out, you know. And that's what I'm seeing what's happening right here. African Zulu people are saying, hey, that's actually not like our culture. You know, that's not really how we would like to be represented. We can have a discussion about it though. We can talk about it. We can learn. We can move forward. We can have a collaboration. But then there's some people that are just like, nope, we're not gonna listen to you. Do you see how that's? Do you see that? Do you see how exactly? You see exactly what I'm talking about. That's just making the whole diaspora like a bigger divide, where it's like, oh, I thought we were past that. But I guess not. We back to square one. I don't think Africans are really coming on to this conversation, be like, stop what you're doing, you know, pack it up, you know, it's kind of like, let's collaborate, let's talk about this and how we can make it respectful, accurate, you know, things like that. And I think if some people in America can kind of look at that and really open their hearts into having a conversation, a discussion, there could be a conclusion finally, because we never really have conclusions when it comes to this type of things. It just kind of washes out, and then like 2 to 3 business days later, it's again, we're doing the same thing all over again. Again, with the whole Tyler, I made a video about that. Is Tyler colored or what? I had to go in deep with, you know, history and the slave trade to kind of explain that. Where do we now go from here? I definitely think that there's just room, so much room for collaboration and like togetherness. I know. All together as one. No, come together as one. We are the world. You know, that's what I'm all about sometimes. Like, you know what? Like, come on, we all black at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all black. Right? Anyway, I think it'll be so much better and more productive if the Zulu parade could collaborate with like ambassadors from South Africa. Let's sit down. Let's have a history talk. Let's sit down and like make a productive move forward next year. Let's see some difference. Okay, let's talk about this in a more deeper level. Respect each other as well. Let's adjust some of the costumes. Let's have actual Zulu people from South Africa come and, you know, talk to everybody about what Zuluness is about. Let's have, you know, Black Americans who are very knowledgeable on the history also come to the table and let's discuss this. Like, it doesn't have to be like, okay, it's done. You know, like, there's honestly room for collaboration. You know, I don't know. Please, Zulu people, please don't come for me. Like, I don't speak for y'all. Okay, I don't speak for you guys. But that's just like how I'm observing as an African person who lives in this world. That's how I see it. But like, yeah, at the end of the day, I think the people who you should listen to about this whole thing are the actual Zulu people. That's my stance on this thing. Anyway, tell me what you guys think about this video down below. Give a shout out to @girl. I'm so sorry I couldn't find your actual full username. But here's where you are. Thank you so much for supporting me. And also shout out to Tobela. Yes, I see you, girl. I know you're always commenting. Thank you so much for supporting me. I love you so much. See you in my next one. Bye.